The Treasury Secretary of the United States just looked at 72,000 lost manufacturing jobs and called it the beginning of a boom, not a setback, not a challenge, a boom. And when pressed by a senator representing workers who lost those jobs, he doubled down. That exchange happened last week, and when you understand what it reveals about how this administration will talk about the economy versus what is actually happening to American workers, it tells you everything you need to know about the next 4 years. February 5th, 2026. According to C-SPAN records and reporting from multiple outlets, the Senate Banking Committee held a hearing with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And according to the hearing transcript and video, Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia asked Bessent a yes or no question. Has there been a manufacturing boom in the United States? Now, before we get to Bessent's answer, let me tell you why Senator Warnock asked that specific question. According to his own statements during the hearing, in September 2024, Donald Trump held a rally in Georgia and promised, quote, "We're going to have a manufacturing boom." Trump said his administration would usher in a golden age of American manufacturing. Those were his exact words, golden age. And then in April 2025, Trump announced what he called Liberation Day. According to extensive reporting from that time, Liberation Day was when Trump unveiled his comprehensive tariff policies. He claimed these tariffs would bring manufacturing jobs flooding back to America. Liberation from unfair trade practices, from dependence on foreign supply chains. Liberation that would make American factories hum again. So Senator Warnock asked Bessent, we are now more than 1 year into the Trump administration. Yes or no? Has there been a manufacturing boom? And according to the hearing transcript, Bessent said there are the beginnings of a manufacturing boom. We have factory groundbreakings. Senator Warnock clarified, your answer is yes, there has been a manufacturing boom. And Bessent said, we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom. So Bessent is on the record under oath, testifying to the Senate Banking Committee that we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom. Now, let me tell you what the actual data shows. According to Senator Warnock, citing the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and according to Bessent's own acknowledgement during the hearing, the United States has lost 72,000 manufacturing jobs since Liberation Day in April 2025. Not gained, lost. 72,000 jobs. And according to Senator Warnock's statement during the hearing, manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after President Trump unveiled his tariffs. Not one bad month, not 2 bad months, 8 consecutive months of manufacturing job losses. And the Treasury Secretary calls that the beginning of a boom. According to the hearing exchange, Senator Warnock pointed out that the Wall Street Journal had just published an article titled, U.S. Manufacturing is in Retreat, and Trump's tariffs aren't helping. He entered it into the hearing record. And according to the transcript, Bessent's response was that the Wall Street Journal is not called the Main Street Journal, and they care more about. And then Senator Warnock cut him off. Think about what Bessent was doing there. The Wall Street Journal publishes documented evidence that manufacturing is in retreat. The Federal Reserve publishes data showing 72,000 lost jobs. And Bessent's response is to attack the credibility of the Wall Street Journal, not to address the data, not to explain the job losses, to attack the messenger. But here is the part of the exchange that really matters. According to the hearing transcript, Senator Warnock said, I would submit that it's a strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. Read that again. A strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. Trump called it Liberation Day. He said these tariffs would liberate American workers, and 72,000 people lost their jobs in 8 months. And then Senator Warnock made it personal. According to the transcript, he said, I need you to understand the spirit of my questions. I spent a lot of time talking to the people in Georgia who've given me the great honor of representing them in the United States Senate. And so this is about them, and especially our small businesses. They don't have the ear of the president. They don't have access to Mar-a-Lago. And so they're not able to insulate their company from the worst of the tariffs. That is the reality Warnock is describing. If you are a big corporation with lobbyists and lawyers and direct access to Trump, you can get exemptions from the tariffs. You can shift your supply chains. You can absorb the costs. But if you are a small manufacturer in Georgia, you don't have those options. You can't call up the White House and get a carve-out. You can't afford to restructure your entire operation. You just have to eat the costs. And when you can't, you lay off workers. So according to the hearing transcript, Senator Warnock asked Bessent directly, small businesses without the same resources or unfettered access to the president, what should those businesses do for relief if they can't get into Mar-a-Lago? And Bessent's answer, according to the transcript, was that small business confidence is up and the one big, beautiful bill gives full expensing for equipment, factories, and structures. That is not an answer. Senator Warnock asked what small businesses should do if they cannot afford the tariffs and do not have access to Trump. And Bessent responded with a talking point about tax policy. Full expensing for equipment does not help you if you cannot afford to buy the equipment in the first place, because tariffs have made your raw materials 25% more expensive. And according to the hearing transcript, Senator Warnock pushed back. He said, they are telling us that it's more expensive to make basic things. We are moving in the wrong direction. The facts don't lie. The president lies often, but the facts don't lie. Let me pause there because that is an extraordinary statement. Senator Warnock, a Baptist preacher, a man of faith, a senator from Georgia, said on the record in a Senate hearing that the president lies often. And then, according to the transcript, Senator Warnock asked, I'm asking you about this manufacturing boom. Will we see something different a year from now? And Bessent said, we are going to see it. I was just in South Carolina. We are seeing a boom there. And I believe Georgia has very good pro-business policies. I'm sure you will see a boom there also. The factory build intentions are quite high. Factory build intentions. That is what Bessent is relying on. Not actual factories, not actual jobs, intentions, plans. Meanwhile, 72,000 real people have lost real jobs in the last 8 months. But Bessent wants senators to focus on intentions. And according to the hearing transcript, Senator Warnock was not having it. He said, I'll tell you what I see. I see as I talk to folks that it's more expensive to build things in America. I see that we've lost 72,000 jobs a year into this administration. We've lost manufacturing jobs every month since he called for Liberation Day. And meanwhile, folks who are working in these small businesses trying to make their lives work, they're seeing higher costs. They're seeing their costs go up for groceries. They're seeing their costs go up for electricity. They're seeing their costs go up for health care. That is what Trump's economic policies are doing to working Americans. Everything is more expensive. Jobs are disappearing. And the Treasury Secretary is telling them to wait a little longer because we are at the beginning of a boom. Now, you might ask, are the 72,000 job losses real? According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis data, which Senator Warnock cited and which Bessent acknowledged during the hearing, yes. 72,000 manufacturing jobs lost since April 2025. And according to Senator Warnock's statement, which Bessent did not dispute, manufacturing shed workers in each of the 8 months after Liberation Day. So we have verified data from the Federal Reserve. We have acknowledgement from the Treasury Secretary himself. We have 8 consecutive months of job losses. And we have the Treasury Secretary testifying that we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom. This is not spin. This is not optimistic framing. This is denying reality while under oath before the Senate Banking Committee. And it reveals exactly how this administration will talk about the economy for the next 4 years. No matter what the data shows, no matter how many jobs are lost, no matter how much prices rise, they will call it a boom. According to the hearing exchange, Senator Warnock ended by saying, I think the American people are still waiting for a solution. So far, we haven't seen one coming out of this Trump tariffs regime. I'm a Baptist preacher, and I have no time left. He identified himself as a Baptist preacher because he wanted to make a point. As a man of faith, as someone who has spent his life serving people, he is watching Trump's policies hurt the people he represents, and he is calling it out. Now, let me connect this to the broader pattern. We verified the House voted to terminate Trump's Canada tariffs. We verified Trump is considering withdrawing from USMCA. We verified the Munich security report says the U.S. is demolishing the international order. We verified Trump threatened to block the Gordie Howe Bridge. We verified Sarah Rogers announced State Department funding to oppose EU law. And now we have verified that the Treasury Secretary looked at 72,000 lost manufacturing jobs and called it the beginning of a boom. Every single story is about the same thing. This administration denying reality, attacking facts, and demanding that everyone pretend their policies are working, even as the evidence shows they are failing. According to the hearing transcript, when Bessent tried to dismiss the Wall Street Journal's reporting, Senator Warnock cut him off and said he had 3 minutes and Bessent should just answer the questions being asked. That is what accountability looks like. That is a senator refusing to let a cabinet official dodge with talking points and attacks on media credibility. And Senator Warnock's closing line matters. He said, the American people are still waiting for a solution. Still waiting, because Liberation Day was 8 months ago. The tariffs have been in effect for 8 months. And in every one of those 8 months, manufacturers laid off workers. At what point does waiting become accepting that the policy failed? According to Bessent's testimony, the answer is never. Because according to him, we are at the beginning of a boom. Factory build intentions are high. Small business confidence is up. Just wait a little longer. Keep waiting, keep losing jobs, keep watching costs rise, but keep waiting because the boom is coming. Think about what it means when the Treasury Secretary cannot acknowledge job losses, when he cannot say we have lost jobs, and here is what we are doing. Instead, he calls it a boom. He attacks the Wall Street Journal. He talks about intentions instead of results. That is not economic policy. That is political messaging. And the difference matters because real people are losing real jobs, while the Treasury Secretary tells them everything is fine. Senator Warnock represents those people. He asked their questions. He challenged the lies they are being told. And he made it clear that the facts do not lie, even if the president does. This is who is running economic policy. A Treasury Secretary who will look at 72,000 lost jobs and call it progress, who will tell small businesses to wait longer, who will attack media for reporting verified data.